Hello and welcome to Do It Yourself Musician. Today I'm having a look at my pedal board. I built this pedal board about 2 years ago, I think now, and it works great. It's a fantastic pedal board, but I've been slowly, as time goes by, I've been taking things off that I'm not using anymore. So I've got some spots here that I've got nothing in. I'm not really planning on putting anything there. I've kind of settled on this setup, so I'm thinking that if I move some of these things over, I can probably make this board a little smaller and save some room and also save some weight. It's not bad like it is right now, but it is a little bit big for small stages. So I think I'm going to try that, and I might switch out a few things when I do that. This pedal board, it's like I said, it's been really reliable. Nothing, there were any breakdowns or anything on it, but I always have a fear that something will go wrong, especially with the power, and it'll be difficult to fix that quickly because my power supplies are under this riser here, and the cables, the power cables themselves, most of them run along and go under this riser to the two Voodoo Labs that are under here, and these things would be really hard to reach if I needed to fix something. But thank God nothing really has ever happened to it. I've actually started tearing this apart already. That's why there's no cables or anything. I thought I ought to stop and just do a video of it instead of just yanking it all apart. So let me pull this apart a little further, get everything off here, and I can show you what I'm thinking about doing as far as like making this a little smaller and also making it maybe a little easier to fix something if something did go wrong. So give me a second, I'll get all this stuff off here. Okay, now that I've got most of the stuff off here, you can see how I did this. I've got the basic flat board here. Then I have this riser, and later I added this intermediate level here, so I had to actually make a little riser right here to lift these up above the level of the pedals in the front row. See if I can get this thing off here. Usually pretty hard to get off. Yeah, that 3M dual lock, that's tough stuff, but it's good. It keeps your pedals on there really secure. But yeah, this is the mid-level riser that I built. It's just basically an inch tall, and as you can see, the power reading that I have on this board, everything would come down along and go up under that riser, and I had all the slack under here. And like I said, I've previously already started pulling things out of here, but when this had all of the power cables here, it's just a mess under here. There's tons of power cables, and it's kind of hard to figure out where they went or remember where they went and everything. So when I remake this board, I'm going to try to not root these under anything, and keep them out in the open so they're not covered up by something, so they would be easier to get to and fix if I had to fix something. I don't know. Let me continue to pull this apart, and I'll take this other riser and this main riser off of this. Alright, now I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to lose parts of it here, but you can see how I made this out of these bolts. Basically, these bolts I have, and then I took aluminum tubing and cut it down to the length I needed. And I've got shorter links on the front of this to create a slant in it, and that's basically how I made this back riser, which is good for having a riser. It was very, very sturdy. But like I said, I think I'm just going to get rid of this riser and just go for something a little more simple and plain. So things like the power cables, which you can see are sort of trapped in here, just by trying to keep them neat, they also get trapped in here, and it also covers up the power supplies. So I think I'd rather have those uncovered on this next board. This box, while I got it off, this is a custom interface, pedal board interface box that I made myself, and what it has is I have a snake that I made to plug up everything that runs from the pedal board back to my amp to keep it nice and tidy. And the way this is a send out to channel 1 of the amp. This is a send to channel 2 of the amp, and this is an effects loop on a TRS cable right here that goes back to a rack reverb. And then on the other side you just have the outputs that interface with the particular outputs on the pedals, and there's one on the side on this one too. I think on the new board I'm gonna redo this a little bit and make this into like one amp channel send, and make a send and a return, separate cables. I might have to modify my snake a little bit to do that, but it shouldn't be too hard. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pop these power supplies off, and I'm going to arrange the pedals like I'm going to have them on the new board, and I'll explain how I'm doing that and why I'm doing that after I get them all set up. Alright, okay, this is going to be the basic setup of my new board right here. As you can see, I've got everything basically crunched down to a smaller space, and I'm saving a good 8 inches of this board that I'll be able to take off. And I think that I'm going to actually modify this board. I'm going to saw it, probably just saw it off and redo the metal and put this metal end back on to it. That's probably the easiest way to do it. I have to check how the feet go under here, because there's rubber feet under here, and see what's involved in moving those maybe. But other than that, it should be pretty easy to resize this board. I built this board from scratch, so it shouldn't be too hard for me just to cut it down a little and save all that space. And of course the big riser that I have in back is gone now, and that exposes the power supplies and all the connections to the power supplies in there. And on the second row, in order to raise them up, in order to be able to step on them without hitting the pedals in the front row, I've had to use a riser, which I'll make a custom. I'll just put some stuff there temporarily right now, but I'll make a custom riser for that, and I'll show that when I make that, to elevate all of this stuff. And when I run the power, I won't run underneath that riser. I'll run down and around, or down this way and around, with the power cables. If I do have to run into that riser for some reason, I'll just make it 1 or 2 cables that are very obvious where they go, just so it's easy to service if anything did happen to it. Now, as far as the signal chain, what I'm going to do is I have this box here that I made. I took there's a plan for an AB loop out on the internet that's I think it's a full tone design. It's for a clickless or a popless AB loop, and I took that plan and added another leg to it for a tuner. So this side is that sort of popless AB switcher, and then it cascades into this other switch and output for a tuner. So guitar goes in here. That's the first thing it'll hit on the board. Guitar input there, and if you step on this, you can go out to the tuner. I know there's not a tuner on the board right here, but this block is going to represent a tuner, which is either going to be a turbo tuner or a Polytune 2. Probably a Polytune 2, because I've had the turbo tuner before, and it's a great tuner, but I don't know, mine, the one I had, or if it's all of them, I don't know. I kind of didn't like the turbo tuner. I thought the tuning, when you got it stable, it wasn't that great. So I don't know. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to do a Polytune 2 right here. So anyways, it'll come out of here to the tuner. When you step on that, and it'll mute these outputs to the rest of the pedal board. Step on it again, then your signal will be live to the output, and I'm probably just going to use one of these outs to go to the pedals. This button, when you switch it, you just basically go A, B, A, B like that. So it would also act as a mute if I don't use the other output, but I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with the routing. I'm thinking I'm just going to have one tuner and one out to the pedals on that. So coming out of this, I'm going to go to this Proco Rat first, and then into this OD1, and then back to the front row to this CS2. And the reason I'm doing it like that is I like to have the compressor after my drives, because it pulls up a lot of the harmonics and things that are buried in the signal. The compressor tends to pull those out. I don't actually use drive a whole lot. If I'm using it, I tend to use it all the time. So it's just on or off during a whole song. So it's okay, I think, to put those on the back row. I've had them in the front row before, but I just felt they were kind of didn't need to be there, because I switched compressor chorus in this vibrato more than I do the drives. So I just went ahead and they're going to be back row. And then it'll come to the compressor, and out of the compressor into the chorus. And if you notice, on the other board I had the CE2, which is a fabulous chorus, but I started to not like the fact that this didn't have a mix level knob. It sounds great, don't get me wrong, but on the CH1, this is the analog CH1, this is a fantastic sounding pedal. It'll do the same thing the CE2 does if you want, but it'll also do more subtle choruses, which I like. And you have the level knob, which basically acts as a mix, and this EQ to make it brighter or darker, which really helps too. So I'm going to put the CH1 on this board. After CH1 goes into this vibrato pedal. I've shown this in a different video. This is a BYOC clone of the Boss VV2 vibrato. Out of here, it'll come into the carbon copy, which I mostly use this for slapback, usually with the mod on. Sometimes a little longer delays. Also use this to go into feedback and get all the crazy sounds. Out of there, it'll go into the DD5. DD5 I use for tap tempo stuff, and tap tempo switches here on the front row, where it's easy to use. Alright, and after that, I'm going to explain how I'm going to use this box. Okay. Now, after the DD5, the outputs here, things on my board get a little strange. I have a FS5L switch here right now, but this is not going to be an FS5L. This is actually going to be a looper pedal, which I have this one, which I built this pedal too. This is basically the same thing as a Keeley loop switch. It's just the same circuit. This, however, does have some issues because it has the metal 1/4-inch jacks and a metal case. That this can cause some ground loop issues. This pedal. So I think ultimately right here, I'm going to have a little Layla loop switcher, because it has a dual ground system where it keeps the ground separate and avoids a ground loop. But anyways, there will be a loop pedal at this point. And what will happen is the signal will come out of the DD5, go into the looper, and then go to the interface box. The interface box will go loop out to my effects rack, and in my effects rack, what I have in there is an old Roland DEP5 reverb, and I love that reverb. You can't get that kind of sound any other way. It's the DEP5 or nothing, and that's a reverb that was common in the late 80s, early 90s. It's, it does. I do the the shoegaze, dream pop kind of thing and stuff. That's the kind of music I play, so I always carry that reverb in a small rack. Sometimes I have a little delay in that rack too, but mostly it's just for that reverb. So it'll come out of here, go out of the interface box on the snake that I have, go through the rack reverb, which I keep back by the amp, then it'll come back down the snake, back into the interface box. And this is where things start getting a little tricky, is because the Roland DEP5 reverb, it needs a boost after it to achieve a full signal into your amp. It's the unit, for some reason, I don't know why it's made like that, but it doesn't quite achieve unity. If you try to use it at the levels they tell you to use it at in the manual, you just get distortion. It just get horrible distortion. So you have to lower the volumes in it, and then you have to boost it afterwards to get it loud enough for your guitar amp. And unfortunately, that's the way it is, but it's worth doing because it's an awesome reverb. So what I do is I use this DoD FX10 BiFET preamp. This thing has a level and tone knobs. If you keep them up at noon, they do nothing to your signal. It's absolutely transparent, and you get cut going this way on the level and boost. It doesn't take much on this thing to boost. When I had it before, it's just a regular lead boost. What it would do was overdrive. It would overdrive the DD5. It makes some really awful noises. So I'm taking it out of a lead boost position. I'll probably just use the OD1 as my boost. Now I'll use this as a boost for the rack reverb, and also you have this tone control, which is actually pretty usable. You can darken it up by going that way, or brighten it up by going up. And I usually just darken it up a little bit, and it sounds fantastic, And this pedal, I don't have to switch it. It's just going to be always on, because it will be in the loop of this looper. So what you're doing, what I'm doing here with this loop pedal, is that I'm selecting whether or not I have the reverb in line. If the pedal's bypassed, I'm just going to be going out of this box straight to the front end of the amp. If this loop pedal's engaged, it's going to go through the reverb, then through this, because the reverb needs a boost, and then out to the amp. This I will I'm not sure what to do with it though. I think actually I'm probably just going to lay it on the power supply like that. To have it there. I don't know, maybe I'll put, no, it's too big. I'll probably just lay it there like that or something, because it doesn't have to be switched or anything. It just has to sit there and boost the reverb. It'll naturally switch in because it's in line with the reverb when I hit this pedal. That leaves one other pedal, and that is the MIDI mouse. And I use the MIDI mouse to change patches on the reverb or whatever else I have in the rack with MIDI. And I have a MIDI line that goes through the snake also. And I'm thinking with this that I'll just mount it on top of the other power supply. It should be fine there, because these are nice soft switches, and I don't change these during a tune. It's all, I set it ahead of time. Sometimes I switch the reverb in and out, but I'll use the looper pedal to do that. This will just be to set the patch on it, and then the loop pedal will bring it in and out. So I hope that makes sense, what I'm doing. Like I said, this is going to allow me to chop off that much of this board, make the board much more compact, yet also I think easier to fix if something went wrong, since everything is going to be out where you can see it. And actually I think I've gained a little room between pedals too in some odd way. So that's the plan. In this first video I did a layout. Next video I'm going to show how I'm going to modify this actual board, if not make another one. I'm not actually sure which one I'm going to do yet. And then I think in the third video I'll cover wiring the board with the power and patch cables and everything, and I'll just go into whatever when I get to that. I generally make all of my own patch cables and stuff, so you'll get to see how I do that. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, just move on and look at something else on YouTube. But I hope you like it, and if you have any questions, leave your questions below and I'll try to answer them, and I'll see you in the next video.